Now, deadline for domestic debt exchange program extended as government races against time to secure a debt exchange from its creditors in order to get a board-level agreement from the International Monetary Fund. In our latest edition of Ghana's Schools of Shame, we ask why many schools in the Karachi in Chumuru district have not received the required number of textbooks for implementation of the new curriculum that started in 2019. Also, High Court urges police service to reach an out-of-court settlement with journalist Lateef Idrisu as it halts his assault case following a plea by the Attorney General. As government races against time to secure a debt exchange program from its creditors in order to get a board-level agreement from the International Monetary Fund, and with individual bondholders holding their ground against signing onto the current domestic debt program, it has decided to give a one-week extension to the bondholders to get them change their stance. This becomes the fourth time the deadline has been extended. The Ministry of Finance is this time around promising them an enhanced package. The press statement announcing the extension reads that the government of Ghana has made significant progress with all stakeholders, including financial sector industry associations and representative groups of individual bond holders with respect to their participation in the Domestic Debt Exchange Program, GDEP. The government hereby announces the following update: that based on the agreement reached with the Ghana Association of Banks, that's GAB, Ghana Insurance Association, and the Ghana Securities Industry Association, the new terms of the exchange have been accepted. A revised and final exchange memorandum will be released by Thursday, 2nd February 2023. It again continues to say that based on the engagement with the representative groups of individual bondholders, the following has been offered and will form part of the new exchange memorandum. A, an affirmation that all individual bondholders are free not to participate. B, it says, however, upon a successful DDEP, there will be very few of the old bonds in circulation and likely limit its tradability. In this regard, the government is pleased to make available the following alternative offer to encourage all individual bondholders to participate in the exchange. So these are the conditions. Now, all individual bondholders who are below the age of 59 years will be offered instruments with a maximum maturity of 5 years instead of 12 years and a 10% coupon rate. Also, all retirees, including those retiring in 2023, will be offered instruments with a maximum maturity of 5 years instead of 12 years and a 15% coupon rate. Additionally, discussions are being finalized with organized labor and pension fund trustees on a separate arrangement in accordance with the Memorandum of Understanding signed with organized labor on 22nd December 2022 and in line with government's debt management program. The statement continues to say that with this, government encourages all stakeholders to participate in the DDEP, an essential step towards meeting our debt sustainability target and restoring macroeconomic stability and economic growth. These developments have necessitated the final extension of the deadline from January 31st, 2023 to Tuesday, February 7, 2023, and the new settlement date of Tuesday, February 14, 2023, that will be confirmed through the new exchange memorandum. So that is it, and it continues to say that the government appreciates the cordial engagement with the various stakeholders since the beginning of the DDEP that has made such remarkable progress possible. All bondholders are thereby encouraged to commence all administrative processes towards their participation in the exchange in line with the agreement reached. But with government securing the consent of industry, Ghana Association of Bankers and the Ghana Association of Insurers, why is government still interested in the individual bonds? My colleague Isaac Ofieje has been gleaning the data on that and joins me via Zoom with more. Kofi, why is government still interested in the individual bonds with all that we've heard about securing deals with the insurers and the Bankers Association?
Well, very so interesting data, interesting revelation that we found in the 2021 debt report. Very interesting data. But first, if you look at the report that was given by the Individual Bondholders Forum, they actually gave an indication that they comprise of about 11% of the total debt that government wants to restructure. Government target is 80%. And so if you take them out, there will be a surplus of about 9% that government has to can even tap in and then also restructure that side. But they believe that if you look at the chart and then the 137 billion Ghana cedis that government wants to restructure, government can actually exclude them and still go ahead to achieve the 80% target that they've been able to set for themselves. But interesting data contained in the 2021 debt report reveals that if you look at the government bonds or government securities that we have, most of the short-term securities that were bought were by individual bondholders. So individuals actually bought short-term securities. So this simply means that if government is restructuring its debt, then they will have to look at the short term, because currently the most important, debt that should be restructured should be all those should be long run, short run, and also medium term. But the medium term and the long run actually are being bought by banks, insurance companies, and other companies. But the short term securities that we have are being bought by individuals and then natural persons. And this, according to the 2021 report, if you look at the 4-year bonds that were bought in 2021, as of 2021, was worth some around 541 million Ghana cedis. 5-year bond is still a short term, it's around 30 billion Ghana cedis. Additional 6-year bond that was bought around 8.6 billion Ghana cedis. 7-year bond is around 8.8 billion cedis. So, Brace, if you add from 4 years to about, let's say, 5 years, we are looking close to 50 billion, Ghana cedis that we're talking about. And so if government's target is to restructure 137 billion cedis, then they will have to critically look at the short-term bonds. And the short-term bonds are being held by individual bond holders. And so government would want to look at this at 15.5 billion. That's just if you look at just individual bond holders, government look at somewhere 15.5 billion. So it will be so difficult for government to just let go of 15.5 billion if their target is 137 billion. It's so significant. That is why government is saying that we are giving you a good offer, but we are still encouraging you to participate, because we can't assure you the tradability of your bonds if the debt exchange kickstarts or if the new bonds are being, we can't assure you of the tradability of your bonds. And so if you look at the data, most of the long-term bonds are being bought by institutions, banks, insurance companies, but the short-term bonds are being held by individuals and governments. If it really wants to restructure debt and actually attain the 50% debt to GDP ratio by 2028, but still a short-term or probably medium-term in our case, then government will critically have to look at the bondholders who are having most of their bonds in the short term.
Okay, grateful. Now, head of the political desk here at Joy News, Evan Smith, who has been keenly following this issue, joins me in studio with more on this development. Evan, you've been speaking with the various stakeholders who are affected by this. What have they been making of this extension given?
So across the board, they all say these terms, the terms that we've just put out, the new offer on the table, is still unacceptable. So we have the Individual Bondholders Association of Ghana, led by Martin Kpebu, who I spoke to, who say that they will not accept the new terms. They will take the finance minister on that first key point, which is that when this is the first time we're hearing an official statement from the ministry state affirming that you are allowed not to participate. And so that is the option they will exercise, which is not participate. Because in essence, he makes the point that this offer is still inferior to the original bonds people are currently holding. Because original bonds, your interest is upper of 18, 20, 25%. This is, 10% every year, maximum maturity of 5 years. So it's still inferior. That's the point that Martin makes, and that their original position of exempt still applies. But because now the wording of that is been couched as you allowed not to participate, they'll take that offer. But also, they are also further emboldened by the finance minister's own commitment to them when they met him that there will be no punitive, measure or sanctions for any individual bondholder who chooses not to participate, as he said. And he told the individual bondholders this when they met him last week Friday, and then subsequently when he did an interview with the Graphic, he reasserted that. Then we have the Pensioners Individual Bondholders Forum, led by a stalwart in the industry when it comes to securities, the former boss of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Dr. Edouard Nanyonchi, who says, as far as he's concerned and his group of pensioners who are holding on to bonds, this is also not good for them. It's not good enough for them. And so they want an exemption. But his approach is unique. They're not just taking up the finance minister when he says that you are allowed not to participate. They're not taking him up on that offer. They want an explicit exemption, which is the finance minister possibly must craft a document in which he commits to exempt them. And I asked him, so what's the difference between being exempted and not participating? Because this is voluntary, you cannot participate. And he says, well, the two completely different. Because if you get an explicit commitment, preferably in writing that you're exempted, then the government and the finance ministry is committing to honor, your bonds once the coupons are due and one day mature, right? But if they don't give you that explicit commitment written, and they just say, you're allowed not to participate, down the line, in the current economic context, they can default there, right? So that's why they just don't want to take up that first point. They want an explicit exemption. So those two groups clearly say that this is not good enough, and they're still going with exempt or we're not going to participate.
But how do they take that point that says that by the end of this DDEP, your bond may be, there will be few of it and therefore will limit its tradability? Well,
so that's one of the downsides to not participating. So they acknowledge that, but they're holding on to bonds that they believe is superior. And the finance minister says there will be no punitive sanctions if you hold on to your old bonds. The only difficulty you have is that you have limited trading ability once the time comes and this deal is closed. What that means simply is, if you're holding on to an old bond, you will hold it to maturity possibly, because you'll be unable to trade it. So if you want to sell that bond, you want to dump it, what the finance ministry is warning you is that it will be difficult to trade it, to sell that bond, to dump it if you want to. If you need money now and you want to sell it on the market, the finance ministry is saying it will be difficult because there'll be limited amounts of that particular old bonds on the market for you to trade in. That's the downside you have. The finance ministry didn't say that you cannot trade. It says it will be limited, right? So there's still a window there.
Okay.
You are either making the decision that it's going to be much more difficult to sell it. That's one. Or I'm going to hold it to maturity anyway, because your original bonds and the tenure is spelled out. You intended, you bought it when you bought it, you intended to hold it to maturity anyway. And I don't really care whether there's limited, tradability of it or not. And so people have to make their own decisions. And for Individual Bondholders Association, their decision is they will not take this offer. They will stay in the area where the finance minister has himself asserted that you're allowed not to participate. For pensioners, they say, yeah, we see that, but still give us an explicit exemption. We see how this plays out forward.
So what would this mean for government if all of these groups say that will not take it as they're saying now?
I mean, one of the things that if you read in between the lines, the key question we need to be asking is, government wanted 80% subscription for the debt exchange program to be deemed successful. As we speak tonight, going into the 7th, when this closes, does government have 80% subscription? if you read in between the lines, the fact that they are still inviting individual bondholders, not only that, they've gone back to pension funds and the labor unions, who they had previously explicitly at a press conference publicly exempted, to now say, come back, let's engage, right? That should possibly give us an indication the government does not necessarily have its 80% subscription. Maybe that's why they need more bondholders to join, and maybe part of the reason why it hasn't extended, in addition to the fact that a lot of the institutions still need time to get their internal administrative processes sorted out so they can sign on. So it's a long game. We have 7 days to see how this pans out for the finance ministry. If they get to 80%, they'll close it. Post that, as the finance minister said, and everybody's taking his word for it, if you don't join as an individual bondholder, there'll be no punitive sanctions for you.
So Doc's point that he makes, does it cover the aged and the pensioners? Is that what, I mean, he spoke for the pensioners. Does it take care of those brackets?
Yeah. Well? So you're talking about Dr. Duan and
Exactly, yes.
So he represents the individual pensioners, individual bondholders pensioners association. So these are pensioners who have bought bonds. They are individual bondholders, but the only distinguishing feature is that they are pensioners. Okay. So he's speaking for that group. And remember that that group has been given a special dispensation.
Exactly, 15%.
15% coupon and a maximum maturity of 5 years. He said that is not good enough for them, right? But they want clear exemption. So he's speaking for that group of.
All right, then. Thank you very much. So that's Evan Smith, and he is head of the political desk here at Joy News. Now, moving on to other stories. Ghana Education Ministry introduced a new curriculum in 2019, but to date, many schools are yet to receive the required number of textbooks. In December 2022, many schools in the Krache in Chimoro district had not received the textbooks for the new curriculum. In today's edition of Ghana's Schools of Shame, Joy News features editor Jojo Kobina checked over 20 schools in the district and found that teachers have received textbooks for only 3 subjects from Basic 1 to 6.
We are not sparing any efforts to make education in Ghana of the best quality and fit for the needs of the 21st century. In September 2019, a new standard-based curriculum will be rolled out from kindergarten to class 6 in primary schools. This curriculum is drawn upon the best practices from all over the world and will focus on making Ghanaian children confident, innovative, creative thinking, digitally literate, well-rounded patriotic citizens.
That statement was made on 20th February 2019, 3 years after the introduction of the new curriculum. Many basic schools operated without textbooks. Many education stakeholders expressed concerns about no textbooks in the classrooms. The Education Minister, Dr. Yao Osei-Educhum, was compelled to answer questions in Parliament on why the textbooks had delayed.
We're going to do everything possible to make sure the textbooks are there. That is why this time I was careful not to give you a date, because I know my colleague will come and quote me. But all that I can assure you of is that we're at a critical stage where the quality assurance is being done so that I don't have a situation where some T's are not crossed and I's are not dotted to get into trouble with my honorable colleague. So, Mr. Speaker, all that I can say is that the final stage is what we have done now, quality assurance. And our textbooks are going to be available in the classroom.
In July 2022, the government printed and supplied textbooks to schools. My colleague, Papani Ashali, met the Deputy Education Minister, Reverend Intim Fojo, and asked when all schools will receive the textbooks.
And so we are monitoring and ensuring that the delivery, printing, delivery, distribution must continue as effective at the speed that we are seeing it now. And we are very optimistic that even before the 90-day period, every school and every child will have the required number of books to support their effective learning. It's an ongoing process. We will collate all the data and then we will let you know.
That the ministry at this point in time do not know that students or schools that have received...
Don't go on that mischief angle, because that will not be...
No, it's not mischief. You mentioned that some of the students have received the textbooks.
Process that is ongoing. We are here at the press house, having seen the production, the packaging, and the delivery. And we have given you information of about 60% that have already gone to regions that have also been in the process of being distributed. Some have definitely gone to schools. And we have told you that we will ascertain the particular schools that they've gone.
So we focus on the Kratchi and Chumuru districts of the Oti region. Many teachers found innovative ways of impacting knowledge because they had not received textbooks.
My name is James Asarudi, and this motorcar number 2 DA Primary, Basic 4. I'm the one in charge of this class. There have not been textbooks. In fact, I won't say adequate. There's none. Not even a single textbook to boast of. So at times, what we do is you have to go around. When you get a passage, you have to run photocopy of it. You bring it for lesson. And then there are some other subjects that we the teachers, we use our personal money to, get some 1-2 textbooks on our own that we are using. So that is how we teach over here.
The new curriculum, we don't have them. You don't have them? Yes, we went for a workshop, all right, but except this particular term that they brought some few textbooks, and the textbooks only class 1, class 2, and class 3. Few ones, English, only English. We normally write some simple sentences and simple readings on the board for them, so that they will copy and they will go home and learn, because of the books are not available.
As of December 2022, many schools had not received textbooks. Motoka DA Primary School had not received textbooks.
The issue is that we don't have textbooks. So some of us use our own money to buy it, like this RME. I bought it with my own money. Science with my own money. And the ones I can afford is what I bought. Or maybe you go to the other school and go and borrow books from the other school and come and teach them after that, send it back.
We lack books. Subjects that we don't have books. We lack maths books, we lack science books, we lack social what are people, we lack history. In fact, basically we lack all books.
I'm Benny Stogbe, a class 3 teacher, and this is our class. About the textbooks, we don't even have a single of them. That's the new curriculum textbooks. So I bought a golden textbook, that golden English, golden Sahara, it's drawn like according to the new curriculum. So that is what I am using small. I just bought single of them. So I use them alone. They don't have some to use them. We are pleading with the government to provide us with the textbooks, the new curriculum textbooks, because we don't have any of them in the school.
Since 2019, the curriculum has been changed, but so far we haven't been delivered any textbook yet. And the ones that I get in the market, that's what I've bought so far. But I bought, that's for my copy, it's not for the students. The one I used to teach them. So, and you know, if you are teaching, there are some things, some pictures and some words the children themselves might see. But it's not, as it's not enough, there is no way they can see those things. And so that's the major challenge we have here.
Dodjokope DA Primary School had also not received textbooks.
You just go online, Google about the subject, you do your own research and come in. You don't have textbooks, so you just go online and Google about the subject, then you come and teach just like that. You don't have textbooks.
At all?
At all. But like, personally, me myself, when I was coming, I bought some myself from my place. Some teachers who I know they have, that one you buy it yourself.
Brian Kwanta had some textbooks for some classes.
The textbook we have, only few. And looking at the number of the children, each child will not get a textbook. At least 4 in 1. 4 children per 1 book. And those children cannot carry the book home.
In Desala DA Primary School also had not received textbooks. So how will these children be confident, creative, digitally literate and well-rounded citizens as stated by the president when they do not have learning aids? This is just one side of the story.
Schools under trees is a symptom of poor planning. Why did we not know that that community needs a school and proactively put a school there? And just go and approve a school that is under tree. When you were sending the teachers there, didn't we see there were no classrooms? So it's an indictment against us, and we are going to do a better job next time, not to look at the symptoms, but to really uproot the challenge, the problem.
Children here study under very terrible conditions. The district chief executive of Krachi Nchimuru, Nkrumah Kwesi, acknowledges that his district has serious infrastructure challenges.
The infrastructure deficit is huge. We have a lot of deplorable schools. We have high number of schools under trees too. Then furniture deficits. At the last time when I checked, I requested for that data from the district assembly. We have over 7,000 deficits. So we have over 7,000 children who don't have any furniture to sit on. So that is about half of the student population in the district.
These children endure a lot of challenges, including snakes evading their classrooms.
Class munti ya brepa esram pachan ya na ekunye school kwala no mo de na eku ya dudua na de akum na oba mo nchen pachan net na class ya ade na obae na dudua de aburakum nti esram pa mo mbuae.
But they still show up in school to study. Even without furniture, some carry kitchen stools on their heads and walk long distances, all in the quest of getting educated. The pupils are getting ready to write their end of third term examinations. After 10 minutes into the exams, Michael Kwabna Nayak rides his bicycle to school. He said he went to fetch water for the house, but because he was running late, he decided to come to school first. He goes round in search of a spare pencil because he misplaced his. After getting a pencil, he starts to write the exams.
A. Air pollution, B. Water pollution, C. Money.
Michael has no furniture, so he kneels and begins to take the test. Many children in his classroom without furniture assume the same position. It's a very uncomfortable posture, but they endure, from lying on broken benches, sitting on stones, and on the bare floor. Three children cram on a table, making it difficult for them to do independent work. This is very common in many schools we visited. Michael and his friends have a plea to the government.
Honesty school them from my non-fat textbook and bread, any computer, any school them for any Dexys.
This challenge is well known to the Vice President of the Republic.
Was it not just a little bit of smart politicking? You know, you noticed a problem had been announced and then you thought, let me just turn up and show that I care.
Let me answer it for him. It worked. Well, you know why? You know why? If smart politicking can get kids to have tables, so be it.
The whole issue that you are looking at children without desks. When I saw the story, honestly, initially, when I heard the story, I could not believe it. I really could not believe it, because if you are looking to be in charge of the economy of this country, inshallah, as vice president and head of the economic management team, one needs to be very familiar with the ground. And I'm doing a lot of these trips to really be able to assess for myself, what is the situation, what are the needs? And so when you go to an area and they tell you that kids are lying on the floor and studying, you ought to go and see it for yourself.
So why can't this be permanently solved?
2 years ago, government launched a program to eliminate all 5,400 schools under trees in collaboration with the Valco Trust Fund. Then we saw an appeal for funds going on the website, schoolsundertrees.com. Send no more contributions. So I asked myself, it is heartwarming to provide an opportunity for citizens to contribute towards building schools. If government is constricted with cash, that's fine. But I thought that there was no clear plan to raise funds. And that by starting from that point, it didn't show true commitment, because we had to see seed money being put into that investment. We saw government put in from 25 to 330 million Ghana cedis in constructing a cathedral, which is now an underground big mahu. Okay, so we were expecting to see government put the seed money into the 3.5 billion fund that was required to eliminate the 5,400 schools under trees. Today is 2 years. This month is 2 years. We are in the second year. You know how many schools that have been constructed? Less than 20.
Quick facts: there are 68 public schools in the Krachi Inchimuri district. 45% are in a horrible state. This roughly means 31 schools are not fit to be called schools. 7,000 children in the district have no furniture. Nationally, as of 2021, there were 5,400 schools in the trees. The government, supported by the Valco Trust Fund and government, have been raising funds to eliminate schools under trees. But in 2022, only 18 schools have been handed over. Government officials say inadequate funding is the problem. Are you willing to be part of the solution? Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
Tough conditions for some children in Ghana. Now, still to come here on Joy News Prime, High Court urges police service to reach an out-of-court settlement with journalist Lateef Idrisu as it halts his assault case following a plea by the Attorney General. Welcome back from the break. Now, Accra High Court is urging the police service to reach an out-of-court settlement with journalist Lateef Idrisu. Justice Cynthia Redu gave this advice following a passionate plea by the Attorney General for the case to be put on hold. The police service and the Attorney General have been sued by Lateef Idrisu and a multimedia group following the brutal assault of the journalist by policemen in 2018. Court correspondent Joseph Akablay has the rest of the story.
The General had on Monday told the court the police service had been urged to pursue settlement as an option. During cross-examination of Lateef Idrisu, however, an attorney at the AG's office had insisted the journalist was not assaulted by any policeman. Mr. Idrisu dismissed the claim and maintained he was beaten by many policemen.
So I feel the pains in my head because that's where they used the butt of the gun to hit, and my rib, and in my right leg and my chest.
Why they hit your chest too?
Yeah, they were hitting me all over. So
these are the areas you feel pain, but generally, how are you feeling?
My neck as well, yeah, because of the slaps, you know.
On Tuesday, the attorney Nancy Rita Chumesi Siama told the court she had been instructed to plead for an adjournment while settlement talks are pursued. Justice Redu pointed out the case could progress while an attempt is made to reach an agreement. The attorney pleaded for the case to be put on hold. Lawyer for the journalist and the multimedia group Samson Ladi Anyenini told the court his side was not opposed to the idea of settlement. His concern was, however, the fact that the case had been unduly delayed. Justice Redu urged both sides to pursue the settlement talks without taking an entrenched position. Mr. Anyenini pointed out at this stage that certain comments made by the police were problematic. He made specific reference to court documents in which the police had claimed the assaulted journalist was not suffering from any medical complication. Justice Redu advised the police to consider getting an independent examiner if necessary. She stressed that settlement is always the best approach. The case has been adjourned to March 16, 2023. The court is to be briefed on the progress of the settlement talks.
Pay at least 2 years rent allowance. That's one of many statements attributed to landlords in the country, and a headache of many people who are seeking a decent and affordable apartment to rent. That is expected to change as government commits to assisting Ghanaians to rent with the launch of the National Rental Assistance Scheme. My colleague Michael Ashali has more on the following report.
The headache of many in a cash-strapped economy is finding a decent, safe and affordable housing. That difficulty is compounded by the demands of landlords who ask would-be tenants to pay at least 2 years advance. However, with the launch of the National Rental Assistance Scheme, this is expected to change. In 2020, the government on its campaign trail pledged 100 million cedis to support individuals with their rent.
So there is a market failure. There's a market failure between what the tenants want and what the landlords want. And this is why government has decided to come in and bridge this market failure by setting up a national rental assistance scheme. And we are going to be putting in place 100 million Ghana cedis for the national rental assistance scheme and work with the private sector to crowd in more.
At the launch of the scheme, Minister for Works and Housing Francis Asenso-Boakye says government has pledged 30 million cedis to assist tenants.
Government has therefore made a commitment of 30 million Ghana cedis to implement this scheme, and the initial phase will cover the Greater Accra, Ashanti, Northern, Western, Eastern, and Bono East regions. These 6 regions were selected because data from rent control indicates that they have a higher rate of rent advance related issues.
Under the scheme, individuals will be given soft loans to pay their rent advances. The loans are to be paid back on a monthly basis to match the tenure of their rent. Francis Asenso-Boakye believes this will reduce the burden on rent seekers.
No mechanism by which eligible households, including the youth, can be supported to access decent rental accommodation and to effectively protect them from undue exploitation.
Meanwhile, General Secretary of the National Tenants Union of Ghana, Frederick Opoku, is urging the managers of the scheme to be fair.
In this regard, we recommend that the government establish a statutory body called the National Rental Housing Task Force Group to protect the scheme and support the enforcement of rent advance payments not exceeding 1 year when the rent bill, which is now in Parliament, is passed into law. Your Excellency, we take this opportunity to also thank you for the government facilitating to seeing the rental housing authority, and by extension, the rental housing act, which is very, very prime to we tenants in this country. We therefore caution that the application processes to assess the scheme by the people be transparent, fair, credible, with no political callous, where all qualified applicants under the scheme would have equal opportunity to benefit.
Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, Dr. Yauban, admonished managers of the scheme to prioritize single mothers.
I also want to appeal to the ministry and all those who assess the applications. Let's prioritize women, especially mothers with children without husbands, the single mothers. You see, if you provide accommodation to one single mother who has 2 children, it's much better than providing accommodation for others who have no children.
Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia says mechanisms have been put in place to ensure the scheme is not politicized.
And that is how it has been done. And because the management of the scheme is being outsourced to the private sector, you are inevitably going to have no political interference, because if they give a loan to somebody who is not eligible, they will lose money. And so if somebody comes to tell you that I am this party or that party, so give me a loan and I don't qualify, they will be essentially hurting themselves if they provide that loan to somebody who cannot repay the loan. So I think there's an inbuilt mechanism to stop political interference in the operationalization of the schemes.
Applicants are expected to be Ghanaians with valid Ghana cards and show proof of employment. Also, rent payable is not expected to exceed 30% of their household income. However, beneficiaries will be evicted from their rented premises if they default in their payments. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
Thanks for watching Joy News Prime.